Word T-Boy.
Yeah.
Go on, man. Set our guest up today because this is just... I just found out he's from Kiamba.
Man, he's a neighbor.
He's my neighbor.
Yeah.
Kiamba's
and for some reason, like, you guys have a history, eh?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's going to tell us about it. He's going to tell us. But go on. Tell us, who is Fully Focused?
Fully Focused. Hey, this is a guy... I don't even know how to introduce him because he's a guy of many... Wow. In the Fully Focused, he's a DJ, event organizer, promoter. What have I forgotten?
In America, right?
Yeah, in the United States.
And he went there as a young kid. And now he hangs out with the likes of?
Rick Ross, Usher, T.I., Wyclef Jean, Major Lazer, Akon. Oh, man. So Kerry Hilson. So many guys. He just went to Atlanta. Atlanta just took over.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Let's take it slow now. Let's take it slow. Fully Focused. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Real name?
Michael.
Michael what?
We're not going to talk about the government. Not going to put it out there like that. Let them Google it.
All right. First of all, why the name Fully Focused?
Because when I was getting into the game, I didn't want a, regular name. I wanted a name that would be a mantra, something that I would always be able to stick to, because I believe words become things. And I think for you to accomplish anything in life, you do have to be focused. So I figured if I call it that, then every time I'm approaching something, that'll be my mantra. And, I'll always attain whatever goals I want.
By the way, folks, if you're listening to this man right now, he's actually from Banana Hill. He's from Kiamba. Kiamba. Believe it or not. So he shows up in America some 20 years ago. Did you go to study? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Basically, it was there. My mother was already over there, so we went over there.
And your mother and my mother have a history.
Yeah. So she was actually a teacher at Liverpool Girls. So she taught. At first your mother taught my mother, and then my mother taught your sisters.
Shut the front door.
I found out that yesterday. She was telling me. It was funny.
Are you serious?
Yeah, small world.
Well, say hi to moms, man.
I know. Hey, mama.
Is she here or in America?
No, she's in America.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she moved first.
Yeah, she moved
and then
first.
The kids followed.
Yeah, exactly. And then we came, we went over there. We were young. And the first, 2 years was a little bit of a struggle because she was studying, and then she, she continued with her teaching. And I can tell you the first 2 years, it was a little rough, raising 4 kids, single mother out there. I remember at some point we were on food stamps. At some point we were, like the furniture we had was, church donations, like, couch and TV that people had thrown away. And I remember at some point, eating canned foods, and we used to shop at Salvation Army or Goodwill, the places where people donate, the clothes that they would, don't want.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so we were living in the real hood, trying to make it through. And she had 2 jobs, trying to make it work. And that was also a moment where I said, you know what, there's got to be more to it than this. And, I have to make something of myself, to be able to give back to her and just to improve the quality of the life of my family.
Was it so tough? Did you want to come back home? Did you regret going there at that time?
No. Well, I wouldn't say regret. I would say that, we always had a different perception. Everybody used to think, oh, you go to America, it's all flowers and money grows on trees and that kind of thing. But you go there and it's a harsh reality that you gotta grind. You gotta really hustle. You gotta put in work. But I never wanted to come back. I never wanted to quit. I believe that, there was something that, we could be able to, do to make it through, so there was always a belief and a hope for the future rather than, dwelling on the past.
Yeah. So you said 4 kids?
Yes, I'm the youngest. I have 2 older brothers and 1 sister.
So you go and you start college, or after a while, eventually?
Yeah, I was in high school at that time, and then finished high school, then went into college, and but I had this passion for music at that time, and a lot I started pursuing different opportunities. I actually had a college radio show that I started doing, and then a lot of opportunities kind of started coming my way, a lot of different gigs, but they would always get it was always like, oh, I couldn't be able to take advantage of it because I had school or I had work. So I did something real crazy, and I dropped out of college and quit my job to do this. Now, for me to tell my mother, who's a teacher, and everyone who's graduated in my family, that I'm quitting school and I'm quitting work to do this, and basically she said, She's, are you on drugs?
Are you on drugs?
Yeah, and so, but at the end of that conversation, she basically said, you know what, it's your life. You have my blessing. Now, I don't know if it was, you have my blessing, or you on your own, but that happened. But I knew then that, I had to make this work one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To quit college, to become a DJ.
Yes.
And your mother's a teacher.
And your Kenyan mother is a teacher. Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yeah. That's how passionate I was.
What did your siblings think?
They were like, oh, you on your own at first. But then at the same time, I think they believed in me. They really believed in the fact, because they'd seen, the months leading up to that, how passionate I was, how much I was spending days and nights just practicing and working on it and working. Cause I already had, like a job. Like I started working when I was 17 when I was over there. But they saw that how passionate every day when I would get off school or get off work, I would just practice and practice and practice. So they knew that something eventually would come out of it. And they really did support me. They didn't condemn me or whatever. And that really helped a lot.
And where would you play now? Now that you're practicing, now that you're honing your skills,
yes.
Where would you play?
Where would I play at that time? Nightclubs and private parties, house parties, any opportunity I had to play music, I would do it. I just would jump on it. Very funny enough, the first party I ever played was my oldest brother. He was living in California at that time, and they'd gone to at that time we were living in Kentucky, so they went to Kentucky for Christmas, and I was left in California to to work and everything. And I hosted a house party in his house while him and his wife were away, and called a few friends, and that was my first official party. And and I thought it was good until they came back and somebody had broken the sink, and I didn't even know, so I got in trouble for that.
Just like in the movies.
It really was, man. So So
And then after that, when was the big break?
I think the big break was, I would say there's been several. One of them was when I was doing my college radio show. There's a guy, a promoter, who came and he said, "Hey, man, I know this upcoming artist who has this new song, and I want you to interview him. He happens to be from Africa, like you. That mentality of you all Africans.
You're from the same place.
You're from the same place.
Yeah,
So you should interview him. Mm-hmm. It was a phone interview, and I did a 30-minute interview with the guy. The single was doing. It just started." By the end of that interview, the program director called me and said, "That's one of the best interviews I've ever heard. You should be in radio." And he gave me some encouragement with that. Long story short, that gentleman was Akon, who I was interviewing. He was just starting out.
Come on.
Yeah, he had just released his new single. So that really landed me onto mainstream radio, and then I ended up advancing and getting more opportunities with that. That's on the broadcasting side, and we maintained a relationship. As far as playing, I really can't pinpoint that moment, that trajectory moment, if you will. Mm-hmm. There was just, several. It was just a constant grind. And the funny thing is, it was a constant roller coaster. You have good moments, then things go down. Like I give an example. Like a year after I had quit school and working to do this full time, different clubs are closing, promoters are not coming through, different things are happening. I couldn't pay my rent, so I got evicted. And at some point I found myself sleeping on the floor at a friend's place. Literally all I had was a trash bag of my clothes, my computer, and a blanket. And I was on the floor eating, tomato soup and noodles and everything. And I remember wondering, okay, do I is this seriously? Is this for real? And that was also a checking moment for me to understand that if you're going to do this as a self-employed full-time thing, you have to work 6 to 9 months ahead of time. It's not like a job where you're waiting for a paycheck. You really have to put in extra effort. And that just turned on my drive and my energy to work extra hard, because when I said I was sleeping on the floor, I wasn't sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I was sleeping on the floor, but like I said, that was definitely a key moment in pushing my grant.
The other day I was just trying to explain to Jalas how difficult it is to live in America.
Oh, yeah.
Folks, and T-Boy, this. Folks think that is the land of milk and honey, the melting pot. You're going to you land in America, you might as well be in heaven.
It levels the playing field. That's the one thing about America, that I don't care who you are. You know, you have people who leave great jobs, great careers to go over there in search of a better future, and you go there. It's a harsh reality, is that it flattens you, and you have to start from scratch. I will say the beauty though of it is the fact that it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can start from nowhere and eventually, you know, get somewhere. If you do have a plan, if you are, no pun intended, focused, you know, and your work ethic is relentless, and you will be able to get somewhere. But yeah, the perception that you go out there and things are good, and that's why for the longest time there's always that thing where you have family members trying to ask you for money and everything out there. But it's real out there. It's you're working, and it's coming and going, bills, taxes, everything. It just comes and goes.
Was it rough for you too, T-Boy?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was tough, especially the first 2 years. Just being able to settle down and actually finding like a solid grind for me it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Yeah, true.
And yet, focus, you never lost focus again.
Never.
You didn't lose focus. You didn't give up.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why I picked that name. It's to a constant reminder, because sometimes life will slap you around. It'll throw you up and down. You know, you'll hit whatever. But it was just the idea. I just innately believed that there was something great that would come out of it, because every party I played, everywhere I went, the feedback I would get from people were just like, wow, you're amazing, you know, this is special and everything. And I could tell it wasn't BS, because it was even strangers, you know, so people could tell that there was something I had that was, you know, special, and I believed in myself, and I really was persistent with anything. You know, I never expected anybody to give me anything. Nobody owes me anything. So I was always working hard. And if I had to knock on the door every day, like even the mainstream job I said that I got as a radio mixer and presenter, as much as they were interested, it took me 9 months to get that job. I was at his office, the program director's office, every day for 9 months.
Begging him literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here. Here's my demo. Here, listen to this, listen to that. He'll set an appointment. He'll not show up. You know, but all those different things, but I never took it personal, because he didn't owe me anything. Yeah. It's me who wants it, so I have to work, get it, not be cynical about it, and be patient. And so, yeah, that persistence and having the right attitude definitely helped me a lot in, even when things are not going well, to perceive a situation the right way and not be mad or angry or bitter about anything.
As an African, was it equal? Was it even more difficult?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. Go on.
What?
Go on. Go on.
You know. The first thing is even from high school all the way, it was just like, you know, oh, you guys speak English, you know, and I would tell them, yeah, we were given these little cassettes on the plane to learn on the way
on the way over.
Yeah. You know, no, but it was definitely a lot more difficult because of the accent at first, and just, you know, you're not from there, so you don't necessarily relate with them. You know, it was definitely difficult. Yeah. But the irony of it is that became my advantage, because I knew that me trying to be like them, they'll never fully accept me. So I might as well be me. And that will make me different. That's what gives me an advantage and be unique. Because when I walk into a room, they will remember that African guy. When I talk or when I do something, they will remember this guy who's different. And I embrace that 100%, and because I truly believe in order for you to succeed in anything, you have to be authentically you. You can't be like somebody else. You can't pretend to be like that, because you'll always be a cheap copy of a great original. You know, so you have to be, you know, authentically you. And so I own that, and I ran with it. And anybody who's followed, you know, my career all these years, I claim Kenya, I claim Africa all these years, because that's what has got me in a lot of different doors. Part of it is, like I said, my style and the way I do things, and as well as my people perceive you differently, because they're like, okay, you're from a different background, so your attitude is a little bit different. Yeah. So yeah, I turned it around and saying,
okay, so you've talked about your style now, and your how different you are. What is it about your style that attracts them? What's the one thing?
It's what I would call, I call myself an international DJ or a global DJ. It's the fact that, you see, when you go to, you know, America, most of the things are very segregated, right? So you have either you're in a hip hop club or you are in an EDM or rock, everything, or even radio stations. It's the same thing. It's one genre. But growing up in Kenya, I think we're like bipolar. We listen to everything, you know,
including country.
Now, so here's what I was gonna say. I can play Jay-Z and play Kenny Rogers and play Bob Marley and play Vibes Cartel. Okay, you know, and I do that at parties. So it usually is a surprise when people are hearing the most random songs, you know, getting played, but also setting it up the right way to where it's not, what in the world was that? It's just building it up and be able to communicate. So it's, you know, I've always believed there's really two types of music: good music and bad music, if you will, regardless of genre. Yeah. So I always just, if it's feel good music, I give it to them and I take them on a musical journey. That's what I tell people. And that constantly became my advantage and my difference in what people would, you know, book me for.
Yeah. And look, from Akon, is it the business? Was it about word of mouth? Would they spread the word and say, "Hey, man, there's this kid we need you to give a call or bring over to your show or whatever"? How does that work? Well, because these people you're hanging out with. Yeah.
So the funny thing about it is, because, like I said, because I would play a little bit of everything and take people on a different journey, I would go into these, you know, let's say, like I said, let's say it's a hip hop club. I would go there and play the most random songs, the most off songs. But because I knew most people would think it's a hip hop club, play only hip hop. But those individuals, when they're outside that club, at some point they'll be sitting with their niece, that, you know, 5-year-old niece in the car. That girl will want to listen to, Taylor Swift or something like that. So that guy who's in that club actually knows the Taylor Swift songs because he listens to it with his niece. So when I'm in the club, I take people into that element where I play a little bit of everything, where it reminds them of the different times they interact with other, you know, let's say their family and stuff like that. So that just being different, it constantly makes people get out of their comfort zone. And as a result, I started getting more and more bookings in, you know, main festivals and clubs and everything. Now, those artists would walk in and like, who is that? Like, what is that? Because they're not expecting it. They're not expecting that kind of party vibe where people are just letting loose and everything. And so I started building relationships with them.
Yeah. Was there a point where the floor would empty when you play a song?
Initially, absolutely. Oh, I cleared a lot of floors at first. But, you know, because at that point, you know, because it wasn't considered, you know, cool to mix certain genres. But after a while, people caught on to it, especially nowadays with, you know, with the internet and everything. Yeah. So you just have to be, you know, daring, willing to be
bold.
And bold. You got to be bold about it. To this day, I intentionally go to every event, making sure I want them to remember me. Yeah. And the only way they're going to remember me is if I do something different than what they're used to.
Speaking of remembering you, give us your handles, your various handles, if you will, in case someone's listening to you for the first time.
Absolutely. On Instagram and Twitter at Fully Focus, FULLYFOCUS.
Both Instagram and Twitter.
Correct.
Facebook.
Fully Focused DJ.
Okay, we're speaking to Fully Focused. His real name is Mike Dongo. I'm kid you not.
Do you want me to give you my passport number, my birth certificate, my social, everything, all that PIN number and everything?
You can't make this stuff up. I'm telling you, folks, you need to listen to his story because this is one of Kiamba's finest.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jelano.